Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to Folkestone in Kent, down by the seaside. Today we're going to be exploring the old Folkestone Harbour Station, the Viaduct, the infrastructure that has been restored and transformed into a wonderful public space. Behind us is a bit of old railway. Now, a steam train hasn't run along that for many years, since 2009, and the last steam train was hauled by
A Britannia-class locomotive, Oliver Cromwell.
And what is the gradient? Because it looks steep, coming out of Folkestone Harbour, it was renowned for being steep. What was the gradient, Tristan?
It was 1 in 30.
Which is for anyone who knows railway climbs, it's very, very steep. 1 in 30 climb out of here, leaving Folkestone Harbour Station. Let's go and explore. In the meantime, please do like, comment and subscribe to the channel. We would be very appreciative, very grateful if you could comment, like and subscribe. Let's go and explore and see what we can find. We are now walking across the viaduct going towards Folkestone Harbour Station, and you will notice that the rails, the track is still in place on the viaduct. Justin, can you tell us why they left the rails in place, please?
So these rails are actually here because they found out that it was less hassle to keep them in than to take them out.
That's really interesting, and also by leaving them in, it does remind you that you are indeed treading or walking on an old railway line, which is really cool. We're still on the viaduct and you can see how steep it is. 1 in 30 is very steep. We're now on the swing bridge, which is what you get to before you get to the station. And the swing bridge
Has hardly ever swung.
well, it's probably never swung in my lifetime. Why do you think it didn't swing very often?
Well, looking at those boats down there, I don't think they would need this bridge to swing for them to get across.
So basically it was built as a swing bridge, but it was never really used as a swing bridge because they didn't need to use it. So it was a swing bridge in theory, but in reality, it probably didn't swing very often at all.
So we are now inside the old signal box at Folkestone Harbour, and if you do come here, why don't you pop inside this so you can look at this old lever frame, and you can even pull this lever if you would like to. But as well as this, you can also get a tea or a coffee at the restaurant here.
At least I can actually say I have actually travelled on a train that's come into and gone out of this station. In approximately 2005, I travelled on a VSOE, which is Venice, Simplon, Orient Express, top and tail service from London, Victoria, down here on a Pullman. So I have actually been on a train into this station. But now we're here. Isn't this absolutely fantastic? As you can see, it's a wonderful open space, public space. It really is a joy to come here. It's sad that trains don't run here anymore, but it's such a wonderful place to come and visit if you get the chance. And apart from paying to park, this is free. We like a freebie. If anyone can name or identify or tell us what that is behind us, please put that in the comments. It's art. It's obviously art. But why is it there and what is it? If you could answer that in the comments, that would be super. We've now reached the southerly end of the station. If you go down that way, it does carry on going right to the end of the harbour arm. We find this section here absolutely fascinating because, as you can see, there was another track that curved away from the main platforms. Now, there's a reason for that. Tristan, can you tell us a bit why there was another track curving away towards the beach?
So there is another track because the trains would come into the platform, into Folkestone Harbour, and the passengers would get off onto the station, and then the train would shunt all the way down the harbour arm, and then it would propel its set onto the beach. Now, it would go onto the beach because it's shingle, and that is a perfect ballast for a railway.
So they didn't need to provide ballast because the stones on the beach were natural ballast, which is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yep.
There's just one thing we haven't yet talked about, and that was why did Folkestone Harbour Station? I think we should do that in just a second.
Yep.
let's have some history on Folkestone Harbour Station. Opened in 1850. Why was it built? We're talking pre-Eurostar, okay, pre-Channel Tunnel. So the way that people travelled from London to Paris was to catch a train from London, Victoria, come here, get off the train and go on a boat, ship that way to France. One key use was it was used in the Second World War. So troops, British officers and men, Allied troops, used it as a gateway to get to fight during both world wars. And that's what it used to look like in its heyday. That's where we were. That's the swing bridge. And then it fell into disrepair, and you can see here. This is kind of what it looked like right at the end of passenger service. It was falling into disrepair. It needed a lot of work. A lot of money was spent, and then this is the finished what we've got now, which is where we are. It's absolutely amazing that considering it was in such disrepair. When you look at it now, it looks absolutely wonderful, and huge credit to the team that restored it. And it's just so wonderful that so much money was spent on it to get it into this condition. It's absolutely fantastic.
Not only is it wonderful, like my dad has just said, but it is so wonderful, in fact, that it received the National Railway Heritage Award in 2023 for its sensitive and community-minded restoration. So whilst we're here at Folkestone Harbour, we thought it was a very good opportunity to show you this, which is the space between the two rails, which is called the forefoot. Now, you wouldn't be able to do this on a normal railway because it'd be thought as trespassing, but now it's a very good opportunity. So, the space between that rail and that rail is called the forefoot, but the funny thing is, it's not actually 4 foot. It's 4 foot 8.5 inches. So, that does not make sense, does it? So if we were to turn the clock back 20 years, then we would have found that there would have been a third rail located just over there, which would supply the electricity for the electric trains to come in and out of the station. But that has now been removed and, well, it just wasn't needed. So instead, they put in some nice flowers and plants.
And now for the most important question of the whole video. Why did Folkestone Harbour Station close?
Well, it's got to be down to money, hasn't it?
Of course, it's always about the money, it's about the cost. Also, what happened or what opened in 1994?
Wasn't it the Channel Tunnel?
That's correct. So the Channel Tunnel had a massive impact on Folkestone Harbour Station. As we talked about earlier on, people used to come by train from London, Victoria, down to Folkestone Harbour, get off the train and get on a ferry across to France. Hence why a lot of the stations here are written in French. You've got Sorte and things like that. Yeah. But what happened when the Eurostar Channel Tunnel opened in 1994 is less people came here because they didn't need to, because they could get on a train it was Waterloo then, but they could get on a train at London Waterloo and go all the way to Paris in a fraction of the time, let's face it. So it wasn't cost effective, and because of the infrastructure and the gradient on the viaduct and stuff like that, it was costing, I think it was something like 10 million a year or something. It was the repair bill to keep it up together was something silly like 10 million or something like that. And in terms of revenue, they were only earning about 12,000 a year in revenue. So unfortunately, as Tristan said, it's about money, and it just wasn't cost effective. They were operating the station at a massive loss, and they just thought the better thing to do would be to turn it into a public space, which is what they've done. So that's the answer to that question. We've now reached the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching the video. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe. And also, if you do come down to here, we recommend it because you'll have a super time. And don't forget to go in the coffee shop and have a cup of tea. And it's super. Thanks very much for watching.